Good evening and welcome to another episode of A Real Point of View 2020.
Yay!
Woo! Woo! Happy New Year, everybody. I know it's kind of a little bit later than the beginning of the year, but it doesn't matter. It's a new year all around. So I'm glad to be here with my cohorts, my associates, my good family here. We've got the movie Maven herself, Miss Karen D. We've got Domkowski, the must-see movie critic. We've got Stephen C., the man who doesn't pick a bad movie. And I'm Greg Morgan. I am your MC, HD. Okay, I can't do all the alphabet stuff, so I'm the
Or the spelling stuff.
I'm the real movie guy, and I'm Greg Morgan, and I'm your host, and we are here on A Real Point of View talking about movies. And this episode, we're going to talk about the movies of 2019. Kind of what we thought. Conversation here and there, and maybe, if we're lucky, some movies that we actually liked this year. Because I don't know about you guys, it was hard for me, few and far between.
Okay, I'll just jump in here, even though I wasn't told to jump in, but I'm going to jump in and just say 2019 was kind of like a meh year for movies as far as I'm concerned. I was not impressed with the overall crop. There were very few movies that I wanted to go out of my way to see. And it's just, and I also just, let me just engage in a little bit of a rant here. I've had it up to here with CGI. I'm done with CGI. Had it with CGI.
So,
Agreed.
So Karen's never going to a movie theater again. Let's go ahead and roll that one out.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. It's like, okay, when a dead person has more lines than all the live people in a movie, it's a problem, okay? I'm looking at you, Star Wars.
And they've got plans to remake some films with the original actors, and they're all dead. So
yeah.
And or what would happen if here's one for you. John Wayne was in a movie, and he met in the movie Clint Eastwood. And let's say John Wayne played the bad guy in Unforgiven. This is totally. That will probably never happen. But that's some of the things that they're really trying to make work today.
Don't say never.
I'd go watch that movie.
Don't say never. It could happen. It could happen. And listen, can I just say for the record, I like cats, and I still couldn't quite make myself go see cats.
Okay, well, good job.
Okay, because I fell on that sword for all of you.
Okay, thank you.
And did you feel like I did that this one belonged in the litter box?
I'm just saying it wasn't a sword, it was catnip, but still just as bad. There were two things I liked about the movie.
It ended, and then it ended.
Okay, three things. There were three things I liked about the movie. One, I actually think Jennifer Hudson's part in it, and the song was really good.
And then
And wait a minute, this is going to really shock a lot of you. The other cat that I liked, wait for it, was Swift.
Who's Swift? Taylor Swift?
That was the other cat I liked. And
you didn't like Idris Elba?
No, I didn't.
Aha! Finally, the British actors have fallen a notch.
Yes, they did. And it was more like 2 notches.
Right, because Judi Dench was in that movie too.
Yeah,
it's like, how did you get so many good people in such an awful movie?
It was hard for me to fathom, but it happened. And Taylor Swift's part was only like maybe 5 minutes of the movie, and that was pretty good.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
enough about cats. Let's think about cats, dogs.
Now we don't want to
There
go
are enough
there.
dogs in the movie.
Oh God.
All right. Just saying.
Okay,
Just
so
saying.
just so you know, no one's going to talk about this, so I'm going to. One of the things that I like about movies this year, where there are a whole lot of really good trailers shown in these films.
Right.
And the trailers were far better than the movies that they
Yeah. That has been a trend, which I think it's like continued apace in 2019. And you look at the trailer and you're like, I think I just saw the end of the movie. And you did.
Or saw as much of the movie as I'm going to see.
Or want to see.
That's what's-
And considering that what movie was it? Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, or whatever it was.
Yeah, years ago. Yep.
That film had something unique in it. The trailer for that film had the arrow flight, and that was never supposed to be a part of the movie. So what they did was they filmed something specifically for a trailer, never to be used. But when they started showing the film in their groups before they released it, they all said, "Where's the arrow shot? Where's the arrow shot?" And they put it in. But since about that time, movie makers have been creating scenes for trailers that they're not in the films.
No.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Rogue One.
You're not going to talk about what?
I'm not going to bring up Rogue One and the trailer thing that I have a problem with. Because that movie was... Either way, on to 2019. Here's the one thing I want to say about the year. Every month, almost all 12 months, there was one okay to good movie that month for the month stretch. It was actually weird how that worked out.
I didn't realize there were that many, but
well, you could start at the beginning of the you could start at the beginning of the. I mean, if you think about how many movies that came out this year, 12 is good.
It was a lot.
There were a lot of movies that came out this year, but we didn't see most of them.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
well, like for example,
saw a lot.
For example, January, Glass. Glass was it's for the genre and for the people that it was for. It was a pretty good movie, and it was a pretty good roll up for everything. In February, you had Alita: Battle Angel.
That was a decent movie.
That was a decent movie. In March, you had Us. You had Us in March, which was a decent movie. It's not for everybody. The Highwayman for Netflix was actually a really good movie. In my opinion, you had Triple Frontier, which got critically acclaimed. You moved to April. A lot of people love Shazam.
What about Avengers Endgame?
And then you had Avengers Endgame at the very beginning of the month.
Avengers Endgame was good. Shazam wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No.
It was better. It wasn't that bad.
In the month of May, you have Detective Pikachu, the Pokemon movie, which was an acclaimed movie and did an actual good job.
Okay.
It actually did a really good job for the people it was for. You had Brightburn, which was actually a very well done alternate take on a Superman story. And then you had Godzilla King of the Monsters, which was still a good movie.
Love Godzilla movies.
You turn around in June, and we're going to skip June.
Well, we had 2 in May, so, you know.
You had 3 in May, technically.
Right, so we don't really need a movie. We don't need a good movie for June.
We don't need a June. I'm actually
looking at a movie that you didn't see back in May. So
right. Godzilla was the 31st. We'll carry it over to May. Or we'll carry it over to June. You turn around in July, you have Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Not bad.
Midsummer, which I actually heard good things about. I didn't actually
think about it. Haven't seen it.
You turn around to August. I laughed extremely hard at Fast and the Furious Hobbs and Shaw. I thought Jason Statham and The Rock did a great job playing opposite each other, and the movie was fun to watch. Idris Elba was good in the comedy he was trying to portray, as well as being the serious villain for it.
That almost makes up for Cats.
It
probably makes up a lot for Cats. You didn't see Cats, because if you would, you'd say it made up totally for Cats.
Yeah, no. It didn't. Don't try it. It didn't. You move to September. There's Hustlers, which hit or miss. I've heard good things. I've heard bad things. You have It Chapter 2, specifically for a genre, but
yes, Lord, that's the truth.
So you move to October, and then there's The Joker.
I haven't seen it yet, actually.
I don't think once you see the movie, I don't think you're going to have a problem with the movie and the alternate. It takes a lot from a lot of the source material that it's supposed to be based on, and it pulls a lot of different stuff in and changes it in good ways.
Copy that.
In my opinion. Zombieland, Double Tap, was a great sequel to the first movie. So if you enjoyed that, you're going to like it. November, we have The Irishman.
Yeah, it was better than I thought, but I really
Long
wasn't
but good.
impressed.
Long but good.
Oh my God, 3 hours.
Yes.
I'm like, Jiminy Cricket.
Long but good. And then you turn around and you have Ford versus Ferrari, which was a great telling
Really like
of
that
the
one.
story. Knives Out, which I haven't personally seen yet, but I have
I'm just having a hard time with it early. It gets better, but it doesn't start as bitter.
It's kind of one of those you got to keep going with it. December, the one in December that shocked me entirely was Uncut Gems.
Yeah,
It's not for everybody, but it is for Adam Sandler and what he's been doing recently. It is a really good movie for what you would expect going into that. And also, we can argue Star Wars top to bottom. It's fine. I can take this all day.
I think Kevin Garnett did good in Uncut.
Yeah, he did. And again, with Star Wars, we can argue it top to bottom in any way, shape, form, or fashion we want to. I enjoyed the movie. Is it the best Star Wars movie? Not by any stretch of the imagination. But it was a decent movie.
I have to disagree with you on Star Wars. I thought it was terrible.
Well, you're allowed to have your opinion and be wrong. It's fine.
As are you, sir.
As far as Star Wars goes, the problem you have here is you've got how many generations of Star Wars.
Seriously.
And each generation is going to come at it from a different perspective. Are you the generation who?
No, The Last Jedi was terrible.
No.
And seeing that's how I feel about this Star Wars.
Are you the generation of Star Wars fan who waited in line for 5 hours to see the first Star Wars movie in '77?
Mm-hmm.
Are you that Star Wars fan? And did you see it like 5 times in 2 weeks? Or are you the guy who suffered through mom and dad telling you about Star Wars and how great it was until you finally see one? And there's several generations of this going on, because now you've got kids where grandpa is telling the kids about this movie Star Wars. It was the greatest thing since American Graffiti. Same director. But so and I talked to so many people about this last Star Wars picture, and everyone, some people hated it, some people loved it, some people said, "Hey, it kept my interest," and really, it got to the point where are you coming from? If you're coming from as a film critic, as somebody who loves watching movies, this is not going to be your thing. If it's all about Star Wars, chances are you're going to be on the upside of 5 stars rather than the downside of 5 stars.
Can't be that.
For me personally, I I really enjoyed it, and I'll tell you why I enjoyed it. They did something in the first 10 seconds of the film that they did on the very first film in '77, and it was how they opened the movie, not with the scroll,
Right.
but actually with the
fade
picture.
in.
It was the same type of shot, and then going down to see the planet. And even though you didn't have the huge triangular ship coming in, until, oh my God, but you had that same thing just to remind you, to remind the people of my generation who waited for 5 hours of why they liked Star Wars in the first place. And I recognized that right away. And at that point I said, okay, I'll be able to take anything that's wrong with this film and just throw it out. I won't care.
Well, I have to say, my brother and I went to see it, and we missed the beginning of the very beginning because they didn't run any previews, which I think it's like when you count on previews, it's really annoying when they don't do previews. Like commercials, lead-ins. Now, there was supposed to be 15 minutes of crap that was supposed to give us extra time to get to the theater.
No,
that
I don't know
didn't.
which
That
theater you went to, but I had it.
well, no,
I had 25 minutes of crap.
No, this theater didn't do it at all. And then on top of that, worse yet, the theater that we were in, they zoomed in. They had the wrong, ratio or what visual aspect of the movie. They had it zoomed in. So you were watching it like through a telephoto lens for half an hour.
So she was already soured. We can get back to this next month when she's actually seen it for real.
Well, no, we went to a different theater and saw without it being zoomed in, but we got we're sorry tickets from the theater. That's how bad it was. It's like, come on, dude.
That happened to me just once. We were sorry tickets, and that was when my wife and I went to see Saving Private Ryan. And it was, we're watching, the first 20 minutes is gut wrenching.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready for it, it's gut wrenching. And at the very end of it, the film burned.
Whoa, that's messed up, Drew.
Literally, everybody in the theater thought that was like an old film reel thing from way back when, and it fit in with what they were showing. And so then suddenly the screen went all white, and we realized, shit, we're going to have to see this movie again. And I'm going to have to sit through the first 20 minutes of this again. Nobody wanted it. No, that's okay. So let's talk about this movie. Karen, what you were saying before we all interrupted you.
Well, I have to say, I'm a fan of the Star Wars franchise. It took me a long time to come around because when the first Star Wars movie came out, I was definitely not on board. But once I saw it, it's like I really liked it. The prequel, the 3 prequels, I completely skipped because I just couldn't deal with it. But then when they started, this last set of this last trilogy, I'm like, okay, I thought the first film was good. The second film was fine. I was fine with the second film. This third film, I'm like, they've clearly run out of ideas. The story, unimaginative. It's so predictable. And I'm really tired of seeing Carrie Fisher, who had a bigger part than Harrison Ford. I'm like, how could she have a better agent than Harrison Ford when you think Harrison Ford is actually alive? How does that happen? And really, I'm sorry.
Let's take storytelling completely out of this.
And what's interesting is that Carrie Fisher's daughter played Carrie Fisher playing Princess Leia. So.
Oh, did she? Is that how they did that? Because I'm like, Jesus, how did that happen?
Yeah, they did. So
wow.
It's been in the entertainment media for the past week or so.
Oh.
Wow.
Well, that was just annoying, and then and then the story was just like, okay, wow, I could have read. I mean, it was like my brother and I had not seen the movie. I hadn't seen any trailers for the movie, and we were predicting what lines they were going to say next. This is not a good thing. Not a good sign.
It was very predictable. You are right. It was very predictable, and here social media got in the way of the film. With all the hype that was thrown on social media, and it got to the point where I almost had to turn my social media access off because of all this stuff that was being thrown on, the rumors of this and the rumors of that. I don't care.
Well,
So.
I took one for the team. I saw
Yet another one? Which one did you take this time?
I saw all these movies.
Wow.
And I don't know if you could tell, like in between is the ones that I liked. Can you see in between my fingers right there? The ones that I saw. So to lead off the ones that I really liked, it was 2 out of 22. Yeah, that was a lot of money. Yeah.
Wow, I did a better job than you then.
You probably did. I think most people did.
Oh, okay, cool.
And, yeah, and yeah. So I actually liked Ford v Ferrari. That was actually a pretty decent film, and it started off good, and it didn't disappoint me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the film that I may not get a lot of people's agreement. It was a film that probably endeared me because of how horrible they treated the dog in the first movie.
Oh God.
But John Wick 3 was pretty good. That was fun.
Okay, because I was seriously about to cut this short. Because you said the way they treated the dog in the first one, and I was about to be like, all right, if he's about to come in and he's about to bash John Wick 3,
No.
we gonna fight. It's game over.
Not even in the least. I
It was
enjoyed
a
that
fun
movie.
film.
And here's the thing. Dogs got revenge in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. The dogs were sick on a whole bunch of people.
So,
and you know what I like? And you know what? When I found this out, it just was amazing for me. And that was that when asked, when Keanu Reeves, when asked if he's going to make another, he simply said his fans love him and love this franchise. And as long as fans will go see it, he's going to keep on making them.
Copy that.
I saw going right there. I saw a picture. It was it was him saying that as long as people keep wanting to see him, I'll keep making them. And it was a picture of SpongeBob staring at a TV, and across the TV it said John Wick 57, and it's SpongeBob like.
Wow.
And you had Karen at SpongeBob.
Yeah, that's exactly what
I
it
was
was.
going to say, if you're going to start criticizing SpongeBob, game over because it's on.
Here's my thing about John Wick 3, and the thing I loved from the first to the second movie. More Ian McShane, more lore about the story. The thing I wanted in the third movie was more Ian McShane, more lore about the movie, and more of an understanding of John Wick's past. I don't know exactly at what point they went into my head and figured out what I wanted in this movie, but they're consistently killing it.
They are.
Literally and figuratively.
And figuratively, right.
And the character doesn't change. And it's weird how you get a movie with this much intensity and the guy's going through all of these things from top. It's just the same intensity level every single time. He just is this level.
He's like stoically cool.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's insane. And
it's Steve McQueen on a murder spree.
Yeah. And Steve McQueen had a few of those on his own too.
This is true.
Not as many. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some decent movies here, but I do have one of my own rants. Yes, I have learned from the movie Maven herself how to rant.
Oh, stop.
So I'm going to drop the paper. And I'm going to say, The Irishman, it had this potential of being such a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, you cannot get actors to play their 30-year-old selves when they're 70.
You're not wrong.
Which gets back to my first point, which was I've had it up to here with CGI, okay? Like, for crying out loud, give it a rest. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
And Joe Pesci at 25, if his character at 25 reminds you of his character at 75, that's not a good thing.
Right.
Well, let's face it here, because you've got people out there like Michael Bay, who all they're doing is going nonstop CGI. You don't even have a chance to take a sip of your soda in his film, because he doesn't give you a chance to think about and let your mind process what you've seen. And this is another trend that we're seeing. It's all about that video game mentality of more. No,
right.
Give us time to digest what we're seeing on the screen.
No, he probably doesn't want you to digest. He's probably afraid of what will happen if you do digest.
Yeah. And now a film that I like that does give us time to digest the film is Brightburn. It gives the audience a chance to let it really sink in of what we're really seeing here. And is it the best film out there this year? No. But wow, when you really sit and think about that film and what it means and what a statement it is of our culture, man, this actually really does a great job of what art is supposed to do. You walk away going, whoa, wait, we not only did we kill Superman, but we destroyed him, and he came back, and he's angry. You know, wow. It really makes you think, and I love that about art. Art that makes me think, makes me want to know more. That's good art.
Copy that.
Well, I have a movie that
on here, by the way, just so you know.
Oh. There's, in spite of my rant about CGI, I have to say I was pleasantly surprised by The Lion King movie.
Cute. It was a cute movie.
It was not only cute, but I thought that particular movie pushed the envelope in terms of what it did in terms of for cinematography and for just sort of storytelling through pictures. Some of the vistas, some of the artwork were just stunning in this movie, and the sort of seamless way in which they had these very sort of realistic animal characters being voiced. Again, I thought, wow, okay, they're pushing the envelope on this in a really good way. And the story was, I mean, it was a predictable story, but it was still pleasant to sit through. It was a good family picture. I thought they did a nice job of telling that story, even though it's a story that's been told many times before, even in The Lion King itself. So, but I sat through that movie. I started watching that movie thinking, well, I guess I'm not going to like this. I'll sit through it anyway. But I ended up being very pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, it was actually pretty decent. Now, here's a movie that I was looking forward to it being a lot better than it was. And maybe that's just because I never got to see the movie when it originally, or I should say, the actual movie that it depicts. But there was a movie that came out back in the 70s. It was an exploitation film. And I never saw it, but my wife said she saw it, and a lot of people saw it. And I missed it because it wasn't films that I was able to see at the time. So, but this is Eddie Murphy trying to come back into the acting mode. And he played Dolomite Is My Name.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Dolomite, a little bit of Dolomite, and then they showed a little bit of Dolomite at the end of the movie from the original film. They actually did a pretty good job of emulating and him being a part of the actual true person who put this together. But even with that said, oh my God, it made me want to see the other movie so I could laugh more. This wasn't a great film, but it wasn't a bad one either. And that's what I was just saying that surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was about to say, we've got about 5 minutes left, guys. So throw it out there. What you got?
I want to shout out Harriet, the movie by the biography of Harriet Tubman, because it got so much shade thrown at it really before the movie even came out. It was getting a lot of shade. This isn't very good, and Julia Roberts was going to play Harriet, blah, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I thought, and I was ready to go see it, and then I thought, oh God, this sounds so disappointing. It sounds like it's not going to be a very good movie, even though it had all of this pedigree that should have pretty much guaranteed it would be a dynamite movie. Kasi Lemmons is an excellent director, and the other people. I mean, Cynthia Erivo, or I can't remember how her last name. Right, was getting a lot of shade for being British, and blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, it sounds like it's not good. But then I watched the movie, and I thought, sitting through that movie, it's like, okay, this is an interesting way to look at this movie because it studiously avoided, and I think on purpose, some of the most horrific parts of there were allusions to some of the most horrific parts of slavery, but more that way. No, not a lot of direct sort of evidence of that, because I think the idea was to make it a family picture.
Yeah.
But I also think what Kasi Lemmons wanted to focus on was not so much the horrors of slavery, because that goes without saying. It's more, but what needed to be said, which hasn't been talked about nearly as much, is the heroism of Harriet Tubman, and the incredible obstacles that she needed to overcome to even get close to what she did. And all of the people, even people who liked what she did and supported what she did, telling her that she couldn't do what she was doing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And to me, that was...
And it's a story...
That was an interesting focus.
It's a story that, for instance, like, I learned when I was in grade school. My son, now in high school, has never heard this story. And I think that movies like this are becoming more important, because we're not telling these stories any longer. Our kids aren't learning about them in school, and there's a place for it, and it's a part of where this country is now. So absolutely, I agree with you.
Right, and she's just. I mean, it just goes without, or it needed to be said, what a truly amazing person she was. She couldn't read. She had, given where she came from, she had no right to think about freedom, but she not only thought about it, but she saved 700 people single-handedly, and then she was a spy in the Civil War, and she saved more people that way. And, and I think the focus on that was, I think, a wise decision on Kasi Lemmons' part. And I guess what to me made me think that this was a better movie than some of the press alluded to, or some of social media alluded to, was that I found myself thinking about that movie days later, just thinking about some of the scenes, some of the dialogue and the way it was handled, and just sort of this understated approach to this, what is really a kind of a larger than life story. And I'm like, wow, that's an interesting take, because when you have like this person who's so amazing. You can get caught up in the amazement and sort of reduce the impact of your own storytelling because you're so caught up in it yourself.
Yeah.
Or you can approach it from a somewhat more objective, almost detached perspective in order to elevate the story. I think that's what Kazi Lemons did. And I really enjoyed it.
Before we continue,
Another
guys,
film that I really liked a lot. Yeah.
Larry, before you go on, let's do this. Since we're running out of time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do a part 2 of this because we have a lot more to say about a year. We're talking about a year here in movie history. So let's do that. And I'm going to just jet us out here for a moment. So thanks again for coming and watching us here on A Real Point of View. Stay tuned. We're going to do part 2. See you guys in a few.